Hi everybody, this time we're going to do another election recap for 5 different states. We've got Vermont, Massachusetts, South Carolina, and Louisiana. But we're going to start here in Missouri, so let's do a quick glance over the results. At the top of the ticket for president, it's a slight improvement for Trump. He's got the state with about 58.5%, Harris just above 40. And as always, we can look more at some of the detailed shifts in future videos. Well, let's go down to the Senate. We've got Josh Hawley running for re-election. He secured that second term. He ran it just behind Donald Trump. Lucas Kunce trailed to Hawley by about 14 points. Then we had an open seat for governor, and current Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe is going to be making that move to the governor's mansion. He secured the best margin yet over Crystal Quaid. He got it over 20 points. So far, this is exactly what most of us expected. Then in the U.S. House, we've got 8 seats. Due to the way the map is drawn, there's not really any competition. None of these were even in single digits. And no seats flipped, it's still going to be 6 Republicans and 2 Democrats. In the state legislature, not much has changed either. It's going to be dominated by Republicans. In the Senate, it's 24-10, and in the House, with nearly every race called, it's 109-52. Then we've got ballot measures, and these were actually a lot more contentious. Legalizing sports betting was nearly tied, but it looks like it's passed with just about 50.1% support. It's not going to get much tighter than that. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a recount there. Then the big one here is the right to an abortion. That would overturn the strict abortion ban. And I'm not surprised it passed, but I am surprised that it was not by a wider margin. It looks like it's at about 52%. Then we've got another narrow one about gambling. And then this one here about police funding was rejected overwhelmingly. It says the amendment would allow courts to charge fees that would fund the salaries of law enforcement personnel. Then we've got an easy pass here for requiring citizenship to vote and prohibiting ranked choice voting. That's 68% yes. Personally, I would like to see those two things voted on separately because I think they're two different issues. But then you've got another success here for raising the minimum wage. That's going to increase it to $13.75 an hour starting next year, and then up to $15 an hour the year after. And then finally, we've got some other statewide races here: Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General, Secretary of State, and Treasurer. All of those Republicans winning with at least 57%. So not much changing here in the Show Me State. It's still overwhelmingly red. It wasn't super long ago that Democrats did have some success here, and it was considered a bellwether. Now let's go from a red state to a blue state. We've got Vermont, and here Harris wins the state in a landslide. She's over 64, Trump is under 33. That's a little bit better than Biden did in the state last time. Kennedy here is at about 1.5. Over in the U.S. Senate, progressive independent candidate Bernie Sanders wins in another landslide, 63%. And definitely not a shock at all. So with all that vote going toward the left side of the aisle, what about in that governor's race? Well, there was an extreme amount of crossover vote because Phil Scott won his 5th term with over 73% of the vote. That's even by a wider margin than he did last time. And I've said it before, whether you love or you hate him, you've got to respect that kind of dominance and that many landslides, especially when you're considered the minority party in the state. So a lot of that support for Scott also crossed over and voted for Becca Balint here in the U.S. House. She won re-election with over 62%, so no contest. Now down here in the State House and Senate, Democrats dominate, but Republicans have apparently broken up the supermajority in the state Senate. We've got 16 Democrats, 1 progressive, and 13 Republicans. So based on that, it's not at all overwhelming there for the Dems. And the State House, with some races outstanding, it's 78 Dems, 55 Republicans, and I would guess 7 progressives. And then there's also another upset here for Lieutenant Governor. Progressive Democrat David Zuckerman looks like he's been defeated here by John Rogers, the Republican. Rogers used to be a Democrat, but he decided to run for Lieutenant Governor, and it looks like he pulled off an upset. I don't know how much that's going to change things, but if you live in this state, it's possible Rogers tries to succeed Phil Scott for governor if he decides to not run again next time. But the other statewide races here for Attorney General, Auditor, Secretary of State, and Treasurer, Democrats win all those convincingly. Next up, we've got Massachusetts, and it's a blowout here for Kamala Harris. She gets over 61% of the vote. Trump is at 36.5. However, that margin is definitely narrower than what it was in 2020. Here, Jill Stein pulls in under 1%. How about in the U.S. Senate? Well, it was even narrower. Still a 19-point re-election for Elizabeth Warren, but she is under 60%. John Deaton is over 40. I don't think anybody really thought they had a chance to even get close to a 10-point margin. Next in the U.S. House, it's 9 Democrats, and it's easily going to stay that way. More than half of these were uncontested. The closest one here was a 19-point win for Bill Keating in the 9th District. Super blue state, Republicans might not even get close here for a seat anytime soon. No governor's election here in the Bay State, but in the state Senate, it's overwhelming: 35 Dems, 5 Republicans, and in the House right now it's 132 Dems, 24 Republicans. I think Republicans ultimately made a slight gain here in the legislature. Then we've got some ballot measures. It looks like the state auditor is going to be auditing the legislature, and it looks like they're going to remove certain requirements for testing to get a high school diploma. Oklahoma. Then we've got a pro-union measure here that would allow rideshare drivers to join a labor union. That passed with 54%. But then we've got a couple of rejected measures. Legalizing psychedelic substances failed with 54% that voted no. And increasing the minimum wage of tipped employees. That was an overwhelming no at 64%. I'm not sure why that one failed so easily. This is the state I would think something like that would pass, but I'm not sure of the details. And then finally, we've got some county commissioners and the governor's council. Take a look at these if you'd like. All the links will be down below in the description. So after that, we could go back to a red state. We've got South Carolina. So Trump here improving on his total. He's over 58%. Harris, again, she's just over 40%. No Senate or governor's election here, so we can go down to the U.S. House. None of these were competitive. It's going to remain as 6 Republicans and 1 Democrat. Every race was at least 17 points, including Nancy Mace in the first. In the state Senate, it's going to be a supermajority for the Republicans. There's a couple of races not yet called, but it's 32 for the GOP and 12 for the Dems. In the state House, it's already a supermajority. It's 88 Republicans and 36 Dems. We've got one ballot measure here requiring citizenship to vote. That would change the Constitution to say only a citizen instead of every citizen can vote. That passed with a margin we never see in anything. I'm going to say that's close to unanimous. 86% voted yes. So not a lot going on here in the Palmetto State. Let's finish it up in the Gulf. We've got Louisiana. Here Trump managed to top 60% at the top of the ticket. Harris is at 38. That's a bit of an improvement there for Trump since 2020. Then this state also does not have a Senate election or a governor's election this year, so we could go down to the U.S. House. And they did redraw the map since the last election, so Democrats did have one flip and a pickup. That's the 6th district, formerly held by Garrett Graves. It's going to be Cleo Fields winning it by a 13-point margin. A lot of people think the geography of this map is very ugly. There's a chance it gets struck down in the future, but this is a nice pickup here for the Dems in this solid red state. And then we've got one ballot measure here. This is not a juicy one. This would just increase the Coastal Protection and Restoration Fund. That one easily passed. And then finally, there's one race here for the Public Service Commission. That's an easy win there for the Republican. So that's it. 5 more states in the books. And overall, we're seeing more success here for the Republicans. But if it was a red wave, it's not exactly translating into a ton of down ballot success. There's definitely more here than the Dems. But given Trump's sweep at the top of the ticket, you might think they would have picked up 1 or 2 more seats in the Senate, and they would have had at least a handful more seats in the House. We'll look at some more states coming up, but that's it for this one. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about any of the results in any of these states? Anything at the top of the ticket, down ballot, or any of the ballot measures that you find to be notable? Let me know down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.